Afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. And this is the Rate Review Committee meeting. This meeting of the Ayer Rate Review Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 828-8571-8742 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100 prior to the meeting. Okay, with that, I will call us to order. Does anybody have any amendments for the agenda? No. I'm gonna add something right after number 5, kind of a new business. Subject being member participation. That's not the right, but it has to do with the rate review committee's membership.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
However, rate committee membership.
Okay, right. Okay, so remind me of that. Okay. All right, has anybody reviewed the minutes from September 10th? And any questions, comments, concerns?
I have no issues. I'm gonna get it into approve the minutes.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye, those meeting minutes are approved. All right. So Dan, I guess I'll turn this over to you for the transfer station operations studies tasks update.
Okay. Yeah, so I made a few bullet points here. One of the outstanding items we were looking at were traffic counts for determining hours of operation. And as of tomorrow, I've had a device out there from a company that'll be 2 weeks of data. So I'll get that data after tomorrow. So then we'll have some data to crunch with. So that move forward, the Devon's transfer station sticker promotion advertising is up on the website. So that is taken care of. And then the third item, I'm still evaluating this one, and that's the possibility of a 1-day pass, having it electronically kind of on your phone day of. Let's do it.
Yeah, like even like a receipt or something, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on that one with Pam. So more to come there.
Okay.
I think those were it.
Yeah, I think those were the outstanding tasks
That's what I
from the
had
last meeting.
my list. Yeah.
Okay. And as far as the employees taking their trash and where they're taking it,
Oh, right. Yeah, so that came up. So there has been a directive clearly made, and I talked to the other department heads who frequent the station.
Okay.
And it is and they'll be enforced too to head into the in through the bays and go and drop the trash off near the tipping
okay.
dumpster. Yeah.
And then are you gonna put like a sign saying this is employees only or something? Not that I think anybody would be going in there, but.
I haven't, no, not yet. I'll talk to Andrew and see
Okay.
how it's functioning.
Okay.
And if we need to go that far.
Okay, great. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, that one day I was like, there was a lot of bags and I was like,
But yeah.
you know,
it was a
we're
right
assuming they're employees, but. Yeah, so at least this way that takes away that part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, great, thank you. Anything? Hold on, let me. I thought there was something else I was gonna ask about some of the meeting minutes, but maybe that was it. Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Okay. So we'll go forward to the review, discussion and recommendations and potential vote for the 2025 calendar year transfer station rates. And I'll turn it over again to Dan.
Okay, through you, Madam Chair, so. Everyone, I think, has a copy of the memo from previous meeting.
Make one.
Yeah, here you go. I have one. So this was the September 10th memo, and we briefly touched on it last meeting, but just to kind of get back on it. So using the fee model, annual fee model, looking at the solid waste budget, the FY 25 budget is $569,676. The revenue that's been authorized by town meeting in the spring for FY 25, that's the subsidy, is $180,000. Revenue through retained earnings also authorized at the town meeting in April for FY 25, $36,996. And then the final anticipated revenue through our solar lease, also recycling committee funds and our recycling, such as items such as linens, and the metal salvaging, turns out to be around $30,239. So based on that, we know our expenses in the top of 569, and then known revenues that we have from the tax levy, retained earnings, and other. So through the permit stickers and pay-as-you-throw bags, we need to generate $322,441. So on page 2 is a summary of the output from the model based on our trends. So basically we plug in the number of stickers we've been selling over the past 3 years, an average of that, and also the number of bags we've been selling over the past 3 years, an average of that. And then we look toward the future for FY 25. Based on those averages, the current rates would generate about $309,425. And then you can see all other different options, increasing all the permits by $5. And what we mean by all permits are the regular permit, the senior permit, and then a second sticker permit. Those are the 3. And then there's various scenarios of doing permits, bags. Very important notes down bottom. The bag sale trends were slightly down compared to previous years, so it did lower the projection of the bag sale revenue in the model. So we were sold slightly less bags in the past few years. Number of permits sold are very similar, so those projections were level. So that really impacts what we see out of our, especially the current rates, down a little bit from if we were selling more bags over the last few years, it'd be up a little higher. The subsidy and retained earnings authorized by town meeting, those are lower than they were in the previous in FY 24. So we don't have as much revenue coming from there. And the FY 25 solid waste budget, it is actually lower than FY 24's, but we're down about $13,000. The sales revenue needed is the $322,441. And the current rates are only generating about $309,000. So it's about a $13,000 difference. I don't think we have to look at the rest of the memo yet, but initially, that's what we've seen in the model and what we're looking at. So now we have to have a discussion of how we proceed forward as a committee and what's the best option. One thing I guess I took doing a little bit deeper of thought on this. The model that I'm using is projecting sticker sales and bag sales, but there's another revenue source we're not talking about, which is the bulk tags, which we did up the rate on those. And that does generate it's hard for me to nail down a number because it's within the revenue we receive under our stickers line item. So it's hidden in there. It's hard for me to pull that. Actually, I don't know exactly what we're making for our bulk tags, but it's probably on the order of around $10,000 a year. So when you consider that gets us actually pretty close to the sales revenue needed. I think I should just point that out, that the 13K we were talking about, if you're getting around 10K from bulk tags, and that's not being really thought here, kind of conservatively not including that. We're already kind of close. Mhm. So,
What's the current senior pass?
yeah, so that is 60.
Oh, it's 60?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
actually, why not? Yeah, I made these handouts, why don't we hand them out now? So take one, pass it down, we can look at these while we're thinking about it. This is just some trends over time, and I'll walk through these to think about while we look at it. Well, this might be helpful.
All right, hold on, we have a question. So whoever is iPhone, you have a question?
Hi, Janet, it's Pauline. I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
I can barely hear you.
Oh, I'm trying to, can you hear me now?
Okay,
Is that better?
better.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, sorry. Let me talk into the microphone and maybe it's Pauline. And I'm sorry I can't be there. I'm still at work. So I need to just use my iPhone and not my phone like that. I'm just curious about the documents that y'all originally and where I might find them on the website.
Hold on.
Hang
We
on.
can hear you as volume wise, but you're garbled. You're coming across garbled, so.
So let me pull the phone out a
It's
little.
on our end, but, so,
Actually, I'm asking about the documents you are reviewing and where I might find them on the website.
hold on. Is the September memo?
That's what I'm, it should be, let me just.
You know, if you don't have an answer, it's perfectly fine. Could they at least be added tomorrow morning?
Yes. So we're looking at a memo that had been handed out in September, so hopefully should have been posted.
I'll go back to September. I went through everything from January to today and I didn't see,
Yeah,
but I wasn't expecting, but if I don't find it, we can just put it up tomorrow. That'd be fine, as long as you don't make a decision tonight.
it will definitely be. No, I think we're gonna be still discussing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so Madam Chair, so through you. I prepared this and didn't know if we were gonna use it or not, but basically I put together 4 graphs of data over time. So the first one, page 1, is basically our waste disposal and recycling costs over time. And this is from FY17 through FY24. These are actual costs. So you can kind of see the trend upwards. And maybe we should just jump right to page 2 because it's the same. It's actually the same exact data, but just projected on a column graph. And you can see the recycling cost is the orange. And so that's relatively low. Over the past few years, the commodities prices have been better for recycling. That did jump up significantly. You can see from FY17 to FY20, but now it's sort of gone down a little bit and held steady from FY21 through 24. But our waste disposal costs have continued to increase. It seems they've somewhat flattened over 23 and 24. And I'd anticipate similar for 25 because we do have a contract that should hold. I remember one of the issues as we went through from FY21 onward, where it was the Ukraine war and the hauling costs increased significantly. We had fuel issues, which increased our costs as part of that. But just to show our, costs have increased significantly. When you look at a total cost from FY17, it used to be $98,000 in a year for our recycling and waste disposal. Now in FY24, we're up at about 173,000. So, almost it's getting toward double. So obviously that shows why we've increased rates. The third graphic, and this was just for I think helpful for the committee, as the committee considered potentially raising any fees. Here's just a historical trend of the fee raises over time. So you can see this is way back to FY11, when I went back to FY, but let's go for like FY18. So it's pretty flat all the way until about FY18 when fees start to go up. Similarly coincides with our costs for waste and recycling going up, right? So most recently in FY20, three, the fee was raised $5 for the regular permit, that's the blue line. And it held steady for 24. The senior rate has not been increased since FY 20. And the second sticker has not been increased since FY 19. Then the final page is the bag price increases over time. And the most recent increase occurred in FY 22. It was actually, it might have been March of 2021, so slightly before FY 22. But I have to look that up. But you can see that's when they were raised $1 at that time. So just for the committee's knowledge, I just wanted to show this data and then recent trends.
I mean, the good news, we haven't raised prices for a while.
And I can send this to you, Robert. They put on the web too.
Yeah, could you?
Sorry.
Yep.
We're looking at it today.
So right now, though, if we increased all the permits, we'd still have a shortfall of about $6,000, right?
So this is back to the memo on the
Right.
table. Permit increase all $5. Yeah, yes. But then we generated approximately 316,000.
My question.
No, so that 10,000 is not factored into here at all. That was something. This is just permit stickers and bags.
I know you're
Not
gonna be
bulk
getting
tags.
$50 from me in the next 30 days. I got 2 TVs I gotta get rid
So,
of. So I'm doing what I can, I'm cleaning out my house.
I mean, there's, right, that there's that, the bulk tags that aren't included in here, which do generate revenue, and they generate more than, what was it, 2 years ago, we raised the
Yeah.
bulk prices?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it only, I thought it was on this year.
Or was it last year?
No, last year we
It was
kept
before
everything
that.
steady.
You're right. It was
Yeah, last year.
last.
Yeah,
So through the chair, so Dan, just for the sake of discussion. As we look to the year ahead in terms of rates, there's a $13,000 shortfall. However, there's this approximate 10,000 from the bulk tags that you estimate. right?
yeah,
So that brings it down to like a $3,000 gap. So the question becomes, I mean, ideally, nobody wants to raise rates, and it would be even better if one could lower rates, which is even rarer, but if we didn't raise anything, all things being equal,
yeah,
there would be a slight shortfall on the order of about 3,000
right,
to 10,000 on the high end.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I guess what I'm getting at, it'd be great if we didn't have to raise them, but I'm also sensitive to the fact that it doesn't do any. Well, we don't raise them and then we have to make a shortfall, so it defeats the point.
Yeah.
We're currently 1 hour.
So I think and we talked about this note earlier, was that subsidy and retained earnings, they're lower than previous years. And we can't use any more of that right now. It's already been authorized by town meeting.
Yeah, why did we not do our subsidy better last
Sure,
year?
how good that is,
And
but-
the
I think,
from the enterprise fund. 'Cause I know we've talked about it, so why did we do that to ourselves? Is what I'm asking.
I mean, I think, the tax levy, that competes with a lot, I don't know this for sure, but I would think it competes with a lot of the other needs of the town, especially with the school increases last year.
Well,
So
that's true,
might
but
have been
also, but I'm
impacted.
even talking about, our retained earnings.
Hmm.
Why didn't we go for 50? Why did we do 36? And I know you say, because of a rainy day fund, but honestly, we use that excuse for everything, and at some point, we gotta say, today's raining.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying is that I think that going into our next step, we should definitely look at that.
right,
I mean, we never wanna go over the 1% for on the subsidy. you know, and we always like to keep it just under. But I think that, you know, maybe we should use a little more of the retained earnings. So I'm kind of saying to us, I think we screwed ourselves last year.
Hmm.
And I don't remember
I'm trying to-
why we did that.
So, yeah, I'm not sure how
No, we
that's,
wanted to stay under 1%, we're at the 0.9.
What
Right.
is,
Four.
Mhm.
And, the retained earnings. If we don't need it, it goes back into the retained earnings, so I'd have to look at why we settled on that amount, but.
Yeah.
I can,
Yeah, but I just think that maybe we could use a little bit more. The
yeah,
next FY, you know, it's like when we have with water and sewer, every now and then we use, you know. A recommendation will be made, I'm using numbers for example only, we're gonna use 50,000 this year, and we talk about it and we think, well, let's use 70,000 this year. You know, and then the following year, you know, we do something different, so I'm just saying that maybe we should look at that a
Yeah.
little bit better.
so that wasn't our meeting minutes to look at, I was kind of thinking it'd be more in the future, but I did take a brief look. And kind of looking first at our water and sewer enterprise funds and going back to what Rep Tellis sort of guided us with for reserve funds. And some of the key bullets they had were reserves help the utilities maintain financial self-sufficiency and sustainability. True, with this fund, we already know we're subsidizing it, so.
Right.
Water and sewer, yes, that's certainly true. Our reserves can help prevent the need for rate hikes in response to emergency expenses, revenue shortfalls, providing customers with rate stability.
what- sorry,
Using reserve funds to offset rate increases in the short term can lead to major rate hikes and potential rate shock in the long run. So this all makes sense for like the water and sewer fund, but we know that the transfer station fund has the subsidy, so it's really, you know, it doesn't really apply there. And industry best practices, they recommend about a year's worth of a budget within the water and sewer budgets. So, you know, these aren't really apples to apples, in my opinion, the solid waste, because it's already subsidized, it's essentially kind of part of the general fund. So really having a minimal amount in the reserve fund, to me, kind of makes sense. Say like no lower than $50,000. I don't know what the number would be, because if something does, if there's a severe issue up there, we're gonna head back to the general fund. I'd say, because right now we're usually around what, 150,000 in that fund, 130.
Have to go
It's
look.
it's usually not a lot
It's
anymore.
not, it's not very high comparatively
But-
to the other enterprise funds.
I think that would, but say you know, you probably want to consider how if you did lower your reserves. Doing it gradually rather than right away.
what is the estimated retained earning balance right now? We don't know. Yeah,
I'm gonna say it was just over 128,000 off
It's
of
around
memory
that,
though,
yeah.
so.
It's low, it's
low.
no higher than 150,000.
yeah,
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely under 150.
Yeah,
so two thoughts, just, one is. In my opinion, for what that's worth, I do not think we should raise the bags are already
Don't touch
in
the
issue.
agreed.
And I think it would be, the ideal would be if we didn't have to raise anything. And if we had to use $3,000 to $5,000 from retained earnings to make that happen. I think that's a win-win. I agree with what you're saying. We want to have some
Yeah,
reserve, but if there is a way for this year to stabilize everything,
yeah.
I think we should attempt to do it.
And I think that's kind of initially I was trying to get there, you know, with that bullet too, where we sort of are a little lower with the amount of subsidy and retained earnings we're using.
Mhm.
And those are already authorized, like the only way you'd use more retained earnings are if you needed a reserve fund transfer point. So if we didn't raise any rates. And
Yeah.
then at the end of the year, if there for some reason we foresaw there would be a deficit, then you'd have to go for the reserve fund transfer.
Yeah,
And when we're, like you said, Robert, you're talking maybe like $3,000 up to 10.
right.
Is it, you know, might be worth it, because when you look at our budget versus actual. Funds, I could look at that too.
How many bags?
You know, it's some years we're right on, but some we're under. We're sorry. Oh, someone talking.
No, I started to,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
go right ahead.
actuals. But basically, you know, if we don't spend as much as we're budgeted, that 569, if we spend 13 grand less. I mean, we're really kind of skipping the point, you're really close, it's real close, right?
I mean, that's how I say we're so close, and I think it would go a long way to many folks, especially seniors, but everybody, not if we didn't have to raise anything, it was so close to the ballpark, but I'm also sensitive to the fact that we wanna, you know, we know that, I think we have to do our due diligence, but I think we could close that gap with the retained earnings. That's just my thought process.
Right.
If we do have to raise something, again, I think staying away from the bags, staying away from the senior permit, and when did we last raise the regular permit and by what? And I'm not,
Yeah,
I just, yeah.
regular permit FY 23, $5,
Yeah.
so 2 years ago.
So 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Seniors was, last time was fiscal 20,
Yeah, seniors haven't been raised for a while.
Yeah.
yeah,
and the second permit hasn't even.
When I go buy a roll of bags, how many are in the bag? How many?
5,
5? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, these bag prices, like, sure, that's one bag. Okay.
Okay, so, all right, so if everyone. For those of us who buy like the large bags, that's 25, no, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
25. per
25
sleeve.
bucks, so. If I use that every month, if I buy $5 a month. 5 bags a month, it's $25, and the regular permit equates to $8.75. So, you know. Plus the $40 a month for somebody. Of course, not everybody likes to use those large bags, I actually hate them because you have to put too much in them to fill them. And then I noticed that the material has changed.
Oh,
The material seems thinner. So now I don't even want to use the large bag because I'm like, yeah,
Oh.
that's all I need. So I might start using the medium bag.
yeah, it shouldn't have changed so.
But the material seems
There's something
thinner,
going on.
yeah, and even more translucent. So,
And there's not a weight limit for the bags, is there?
no, but it's, you know,
But
you
once
like
it's-
those big bags, because they're big. And you go to fill it up and then you're like trying to get it, you know, into the vehicle and everything
Yeah.
like that. It's like that becomes too hard. It becomes too hard for me because of my shoulder.
Most-
So what I'm just trying to figure out too is like, you know, for. You know, for an informational thing, it's, you know, how it equates out to. But again, you know. Somebody with a family, you know, depending on how many bags, they might save themselves a trip and buy two rolls. You know, and depending on how many people and how often they're going to the transfer station. But anyways, that's kind of like for the flyer, you know, that you'd send out. So what's everyone's gut feeling at the moment? Oh,
I
sorry.
just wanted, a question regarding. Volume. You see any changes in volume here? I assume it's gone up because the number of residents have gone up.
I'll have to look, I mean, I could look at that, I don't know, I know our permit sticker sales are relatively. Flat, they're not going down or up significantly, so I think maybe it's similar, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The reason
I could
I'm
look at
asking is, I'm diligent on recycling, my wife is not. So I have to go through the trash and find the recycling stuff. Right? And so
That's a good
are we
question.
taking advantage of commodities and, you know, I mean, that's why I'm asking.
that's a good question, yeah, I could, take a look at that.
Yeah, because like I have my little compost thing, you know, so I put a lot of waste in that, so I'm not actually having to empty the trash can as often. Which is good, you know, so every little bit helps,
Yeah,
but. What are ways that we can cut costs?
just for this fiscal year that we're currently in.
Well, just-
We're trying to,
You know, in general, you know,
I'm trying to think back to the study. Um. Cut hours that we were locked in our hauling agreement. I mean, obviously, we can look at that for future. And see if there's a better deal next fiscal year.
Right.
Our hauling agreement, is
Right.
something to look at.
So really, it's all as things come up. We just
Yeah.
look for better deals.
Our biggest line items are the recycling, solid waste disposal line items and our wages. So those would, if you could take a little bit at any of those, you could make an impact.
Right.
Aside from that, we use most of our supply and services budget pretty thin. So I'd have to put a little more thought. But those are my initial thoughts.
So when you recycle now, you're receiving income for recycling, and you said commodities went up, is there?
Or so for when we scrap metal, we receive income, the textile bins, those yellow bins on the side, we receive income for those. But the recycling we do right now, we're paying to recycle. It's much lower than we did a few years ago, but we're still not, at one point, we were actually getting paid years ago when this is like off of the chart. Around when I first started here, recycling was very advantageous, but.
And that was because the China was.
It was an issue with glass and, yeah.
Let me ask this question, again, sort of devil's advocate. So we've talked about if we were, ultimately our goal is to appropriately fund and operate the transfer station with a minimal impact, obviously, to the users. So we talked about how we're almost at a potential no increase situation, right? The playing devil's advocate for anybody, if we were, as part of our due diligence, to look at an increase to close that very small gap, what do people think? I don't like the idea of raising on the bags if the bags are already up there in an issue. But are there other thoughts? So, I'm just thinking as we prepare, we potentially have a level funded option. If we had to do a small increase, what do people think it should be and on what?
If I may, through the chair, I'm definitely looking at this increasing regular permit only $5. That's a steady number that we collect, it's $5 and it's over an entire year. $5 is not spread out over an entire year. $5 is minimal.
Fair point.
It also gets us to 312 plus an illusional, or not an illusional, but the potential $10,000 that gets us to 322, which gets us to where I feel like we need to be. So to me, that's what makes sense.
$5
$5
on the regular.
Versus on.
Correct.
So just that, okay.
Oh. So, Tim, you're saying just on the regular?
Just on the regular.
Oh, that's just a through.
Well, to be fair, maybe we should look at the senior permit also as far as $5. We haven't changed that price since FY20. So it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really. It's been like 5 years, this is its 5th year. I don't think it's unreasonable. As far as, $5, that makes it would equate, like $6 a month.
Yeah, if I may,
Yeah.
I'm sure that we sell so fewer seniors than we do regular permits.
Actually, the seniors are increasing.
Oh, the seniors are
Yes,
increasing.
yes. So the
So,
senior, people
I don't
being
know
able
what
to get a
proportion.
senior permit is increasing.
So that's a good
Because,
argument for.
yeah. And I think it's a reasonable. Increase, and the fact that it has not happened, I mean, we can see where we've done the regular permit pretty steadily over all these years.
Mhm.
But the seniors we have left alone. So it's not an unreasonable conversation. I wouldn't necessarily change the day permit, because how many of those do we usually sell in a year?
Give me a minute, I'm trying to find the numbers for permit sales.
You can ask about the second permit as well, too, just if we have any numbers on. How much of the total permits out there those account
So
for? It's probably a small pool, but
this was 2023, I don't know if 2024 is a number printed out, but in 2023, there was 719 regular permits. 496 senior and 129 second stickers.
And that was in 2023.
Yeah, I have all this data.
How much is the
Right.
second sticker?
30.
30?
hasn't changed since FY
Oh, I thought, for
19.
some reason, I was thinking that was the 1 day permit. Yeah,
And that hasn't changed in quite.
FY 19.
we can change yeah, I would think we can change the second permit too.
So I could run more scenarios for next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I was thinking, but the scenarios is part of our due diligence. So I think one of the scenarios is the no increase scenario, and I think you, Barbara, and I should take just a little further detailed look at that. So one scenario would be to not raise anything, and we know we have this gap, this small gap we have to take into account. Scenario 2 would be the Kimberly scenario. I'm just saying is if we just raise the regular permit by $5, so that'd be scenario 2. Then there's the Livingston scenario.
Yeah.
Scenario, yeah,
Just raise
yeah,
everything.
scenario 3, scenario 3 is let's just look at the senior, if we were to raise the senior. Not saying that we're gonna, and as part of that scenario 2, and maybe it's a subset of it, is, as Janice and Andy brought up, is that raising that second permit, because there were 129 of those in 2023, and it was last adjusted in FY 2019. So does that make sense? So we'll have the no increase, the $5 on the regular, a look at the senior, and then a look at the second permit. And there may be another scenario.
So quick question, so on the Livingston scenario, so that would just be raising the senior $5, not the regular though?
No, it would be in addition to the regular.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words,
Yeah.
that's
So-
regular, senior,
Yeah.
and so all
Yeah.
would be increased 5.
Yeah.
And then the third.
My husband and I both have a sticker on our car, so I don't have a problem with, the second permit being raised.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, just. the
Well, that
$5.
being said, let's think about this. Right, throwing it out there. Now, again, my husband and I, we both have a permit in our car, so one of us is the second permit. What if we left the regular permit alone, raised the senior $5 and raised the second permit 10?
Take a look at that, left the regular the same, raise.
I mean, it still wouldn't pull in all the income that you needed. But I mean, the regular permit is already $105, which just sounds wrong, And when you balance it out, it's $8.75 a month. But the second permit, which has not been raised since F19, is that big as, because I mean, you never know. There's a household today that, is now gonna have somebody else in the household that will have a second permit. So that, the second permit numbers could increase. Now, it may not get us to where we need to be, we might still end up having that shortfall. But it may get us, close that gap a little bit more,
Like that.
What is the age to be a senior?
65.
It is 65.
Yep.
Yep.
So just a couple considerations. Overall, we've got around 10,000 in this bulk revenue, bulk tag revenue that we're sort of not even looking at. So if we did nothing and we take into account 10,000 in bulk tags, we only have a $3,000 shortage deficit. And with that, we've discussed or thrown out the idea that maybe on Wednesdays, we would cut the hours to, from what, where we're 7 to 7, right? And we would cut it to 11 to 7.
It's one of the scenarios.
It's one of the
But that's
scenarios.
also, kind of a contractual thing, so that would have to be
Right.
negotiated.
Right, so as far as making no changes, I think that keeping the bulk tag revenue into account and saying we're gonna hold things this steady this year. If things, and you know, we as a town have tried to do the right thing and we do a pretty good job with cost and revenue, so we can hold steady. And we could look next year is if we do, all of a sudden things look bad, we're not making enough revenue or cost, then we could circle around next year and say, hey, we do have this idea of cutting back the hours a little bit too. So that would add ammunition or add a plus to the idea of not changing anything.
Well, the hours do have to be looked at as far as, you know, in
Yeah.
negotiation due to the overtime.
Right.
So that being said, we have the potential, I think what, how much we figured out in the overtime, we have the potential to see a savings with that.
Yep.
So my idea
So
is
there
that-
is already a saving coming for unknown what the savings is gonna be.
That's what-
Exactly, so that to me, that sort of leads
Right.
to the idea
Yeah.
of us holding rates. So then just one consideration on the idea of raising the fees. On that second permit, there's only 129. Sometimes what I'm thinking is that people get the second permit because, I mean, every once in a while I'm out of town, so, and my car has the tag, so my wife can't take her car, so we didn't have the second tag. I'm just wondering if we raise the price on that, people would just say, bag it, we'll just go with the one car. Not bag it,
No.
but we won't get the second permit, so then we sort of shoot ourselves in the foot, just thinking of that out loud on that.
No.
Mhm.
Because it's $30 right now, so adding, you know, having the second permit and adding $10 to it. That's not even, my God, was it $3 a month something? I didn't do the
Yeah.
math.
Yeah,
So
no,
I mean,
was
so
just-
no, because I can tell you, I'm not giving up my second permit.
No, I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, you know, my husband happens to be out, or if God forbid his car was in the shop and everything. No, I want to be able to go. You might have one or two, but I'm betting it has nothing to do with the cost. I think it'll have other things to do with it. Like maybe they're home more and they don't need the second car to have it. You know what I'm saying? But no, I think that that's something we can look at. Because we have not, and it's reasonable to talk about raising the second permit because it has not been raised in like 5 years, 6 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe, you know.
Interesting to see if we do raise the rates, if the numbers do go down. Like this be interesting.
For a second permit,
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I think, like I said, I think you might see 2 or 3,
Yeah.
but I don't think it would have anything to do with the price.
You're right.
You know, I think it would have to do with other scenarios like, you know, somebody's retired, so everybody's home, then they don't need to have the second permit. But if you've got somebody still working and one person's still home, you know, I need to go, you know, Puggy's at work and I need to go to the transfer station on Wednesday, he's got the truck. I'm gonna go. So. Yeah, and even if it did, I don't think it would be. You know, I don't think it would be, it would really affect anything. as far as the second permit, because we have such low numbers for a second permit anyway, so.
Question for you. In the electronics disposal, is that a revenue generator?
That one is not.
So that's part of the permit.
I don't believe, I'll just double check that. I believe it's-
So you're talking about getting rid of 2 TVs and getting a bulk
Oh,
disposal.
that goes in the bulk items, the TVs do,
Okay.
but we have other things like light bulbs and stuff like that.
Okay.
Don't cost, but yeah.
This is just a thought. So stay with me here. I don't want to increase bag prices. Let's just start with that.
I'm with you.
Because
I'm with you.
before I even go down this thought process, I gotta make that clear, because I know what
I'm right there,
hot button that is.
yeah.
But I almost wish we had the room to do it. And the reason is just because, I'm looking at the costs over time and thinking about how we could potentially impact costs through rates. And it's pretty clear that recycling's holding steady. The growth in disposal costs is from waste disposal. And if we could discourage waste disposal in some way, it would be great to be able to do that. I don't think we can't with bag rates that high, but in an ideal world, if we could, I just feel like that.
I wasn't here, but I'm guessing that was probably part of the logic last time it got raised too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I mean,
Trash is the most significant cost of.
absolutely. Yeah. But, I mean, it would be mutiny. So I'm just thinking in terms of what we can do to shape your costs through rates.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes.
So I was just thinking that if we prepared those various scenarios in advance of the next meeting, then we would sort of have, if you will, the full spectrum of potential options, which I think will show that we've done the due diligence and, whatever the committee ends up recommending, at least as part of that hearing, we'll have looked at all of these, different scenarios for next time. And if somebody thinks of another scenario or something after this meeting, let us know in advance, we could run it, if you come up with an idea after the fact, but I think that we have a bunch of potential options.
I'm just gonna throw out real quick, is I would be happy at this point to just say, increase all permits $5, boom. Done with it. But.
Why don't we put that as one too? The Freskowski maximum.
It is on.
Raise it.
That was already on there.
Okay,
That's what Livingston,
Yeah.
all right.
but then there's the Livingston addenda of
Yes,
the second permit up to 10.
I think $40 for a permit that gets you
Oh,
in there
oh,
all
I-
year is.
Yeah, I was just
you know,
playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Okay, all right, okay, so. All right, we good with the conversation at the moment? All right, so moving on, as far as the scheduling of the public hearing, tonight, as you know, the next Tuesday, what is it, November 4th? November
November
5th,
5th.
November 5th is election day. The select board will not be meeting that night, okay? Tonight, the select board will choose what alternate night they're gonna do. Right now, in the packet, it's that Monday night or that Wednesday night. So stay tuned to this page for that update. That being said, we do need to meet one more time prior to even going forward to the public hearing. So when's good for everyone to meet? In about, you want to do it on the 19th? Oh, no, nope, sorry, I'm looking at November. Let me try again. Do you want to do the 15th at 4?
That works for me.
It's just you and I have, an offsite class that day, so if I get back, I will try to get back in time,
Okay.
like I was able to today, but
Yeah,
no guarantees.
yeah, the,
Just in case you can't make it, which we will miss you. Okay, I'm just gonna add that. Could you send whatever information you have?
Sure.
And also, could you send that day, like anything that you'd be handing out to us? Can you at least bring it on a thumb drive so we can plug it in and we can share it on the screen? That'd be
Sure.
great. Okay. All right, so we're gonna do
the fif-
4 o'clock on the 15th.
Yep,
Okay. All right. Okay, and then like I said, just, stay tuned this page, but keep either maybe the 4th or the 6th available for the public hearing for those who want to be a part of it. Okay? All right, so the next thing I brought up was the membership. So we're down a resident and we're down, what was the other one?
the significant user, so
Significant
the
user.
committee's supposed to have a representative from one of the large water sewer users, so we need to find someone on that for that, and then there is a residency vacancy.
Okay, let me ask, Pauline?
I wanted to share some information, not about this particular topic, when you're finished.
Okay, I'll get back to you. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, so you're the FinCom representative,
Yes.
okay? And you always like to attend, but you're also a resident.
As I'm, yeah,
Yes,
I'm a senior.
okay. Unless there's an objection, why don't we have you be the formal resident representative?
Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah,
Would there be can't believe I'm saying this conflict of interest.
why would there be a conflict?
Because I think strange
No,
sometimes.
no, because he's the FinCom rep, but he's also a resident, which is why he's on the FinCom. You're on the FinCom, but you're already here, so why don't we just formally make you a part of the committee? So if everyone's okay for that, then I have a motion.
I would second that.
Was there an actual motion or just everybody mumbling? I heard nothing.
A motion to, I don't know what the word is.
So I'll make a motion that Kurt be formally appointed to this committee as the resident to fill the resident slot. Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Okay. Wow. I don't know how that went so downhill. Yes, Pauline.
Thank you, Janice. Real quick, as I was listening in at work, and now that I'm home because I'm on the iPad, I went through your last fall meeting minutes about the subsidy question. And while there was discussion about the amount of the subsidy, the minutes do not reflect any decision-making about what to do with the subsidy. So I think you're on pretty clean ground there. But, and I remember mentioning at one of the meetings last fall that, the subsidy should apply to keep the rates as low as possible. So I'll leave that with you. That's further discussion. But as far as the changing of the hours of the transfer station, I'm encouraged to hear you say that because I think it's a waste of money to have it open 12 hours. However, I think you left that in the contract negotiation that you did not have to reopen negotiations to do that, that you had the right, or the selectmen had the right to change the hours if you decided it wasn't working. So you might want to look at that. I remember looking at that a few months ago, but I don't think you have to go through contract negotiations again.
True, but you're absolutely right, but it just so happens that's gonna be coming up at the same time, so that's kind of what my line of thinking, but thank you for the reminder.
No worries. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. See you all in an hour.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yeah. Oh.
sorry, it's Carly in my
It
office.
was like a disembodied voice for a second.
I just wanted to point out for the appointment of Kurt as a regular member of the committee, we'll have to have the select board approve that
Yeah,
too.
I was actually kind of talking that to Robert, and I'll bring it up tonight, but it's really just kind of ridiculous. Because he's here all the time, so that's kind of why we went with it, but I'll bring it up tonight and say that this committee approved.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I feel like I can reach out to the significant users to see if anybody would like to join the committee, if
Okay.
they have anybody.
Yeah, and through the chair, in the past, what we told them is it's just it's a 1 year commitment. Obviously, sometimes they want to stay longer, but we want to get them at the table. So if they ask what's the commitment, it's basically a 1 year, initial 1 year commitment, and we generally meet quarterly, but we meet, as you know, Kimberly, more on the water and sewer in the January, February. So that'd be great if you could find someone.
I will ask.
Thanks.
All right. Is there anything else?
No.
All right,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
The chair says aye. All right, thank you guys.
All right.
See you on the 15th.